essence, dealing with energy in a very positive way. One of the things that pro players know is that channeling energy in a positive way is very important to enable them to play the way they play, intense things. And if they're doing a lot of excessive body movements, you know, hands flying all over the place, facial expressions and this and that, that's basically an incorrect way of handling energy, and a lot of energy is being wasted in that way. And I guess at times we have all done that. We're playing, we really get into it, we're making all kinds of facial motions, and we're bopping all around. Very, very few people can get away with that type of display of outward energy. Keith Jarrett is one that can get away with it. You know, everybody will point to Keith Jarrett and say, "Oh man, well here he does it, so it must be okay." Some people can do it and get away with it. It's just simply the way it is with anything in life, you know. But most people can't do that because it's a total disruption of their energy and a displacement of their positive energy. And so therefore, those gross body movements that they do actually inhibit them from playing their best. You know, so it's something to definitely be aware of. When you practice, you can maybe set up a little vamp that you want to improvise to it, and just take notice. Are you making a lot of facial expressions? Are you tensing your body up? Are you moving around excessively? It's a good experiment to try and just see how are you reacting to the energy situation. It's a natural thing. When you become tense, your body muscles get tense and you tighten up, and therefore your movement becomes less fluid. That's just simply a natural fact. So you want to have that relaxation. Reminds me of watching a sporting event recently, and someone was saying, you know, how does this person come off the bench? They don't play on a regular basis, but this pro player will just come off the bench, and actually this was baseball, and get up to the plate and be so together and do really well at the plate. And they asked this guy how he does that, and he said, well, I take my practice very seriously. In other words, I really work hard at my craft. And he said, the other thing I do is I try to become as relaxed as possible. So when I'm in that performance situation, I can pull something off. And that's exactly the point. And that's the same way it is with music performance. You know, you want to be very, very relaxed to play your best. So you want to practice and do all those wonderful things that we do and we love to do at home, and we're getting into all that physical thing and training and practicing. But you want to have your best performance be as relaxed as possible. So that's something, again, that relates to everything we've been talking about as far as you know, meditative type of things, centering ourselves. That's all relaxing. They're all relaxation procedures that are just calming us down, enable us to focus in and perform. So, of course, there's many things that you got to do to get comfortable with improvisation. You know, very direct things. I mean, we have intervals we have to learn. There's, you know, a million chord shapes, arpeggios and scales and tunes and all that kind of stuff. I'm talking about something that's beyond all that, more of an artistic explanation for what's going on. So let's take a look a little bit deeper into what's going on with that. If you can feel a 4-bar chunk of time, if you can feel an 8-bar chunk of time, a 12-bar chunk of time, a 16 measure, or a whole tune, you can play anything you want. And that statement is just really, really important. Let me just say that again. If you can feel a 4-bar chunk of time, if you can feel an 8-bar chunk of time, 12-bar chunk of time, 16, or a whole tune, whatever that structure is, you can play anything you want. And this is that, going back to the forest and the tree analogy, you're seeing the whole forest as opposed to just seeing the trees, seeing the one measure at a time. You're seeing the whole form of the tune. So what I call the one measure at a time approach, which is how we're taught basically, is I call that the local approach to improvisation. And I call the larger chunks of space that we can perceive as being the global approach. Okay, so getting into this very specifically, if we take, for example, the standard Just Friends, we take a look at the first 8 bars of that tune. Well, let's just say what those bars are. The first 2 bars are C major 7, C6 9, C major. Then we go to 2 bars of C minor 7, and then there's 2 bars of G major 7, and then there's 2 bars of B flat minor, and then at bar 9 it goes into A minor 7. So with that tune, if we're thinking globally, what we're thinking about is that 8-bar chunk of space, that 8-bar chunk of time. And as long as we can feel 8 bars, we can play anything we want, and by the time we get to that A minor chord at bar 9, as long as we resolve it when that A minor chord happens, everything that we play makes sense. Everything, it all works out. And that's why we can get away with whatever we play, because we definitely are attentive to that form. And at bar 9, we hit the A minor 7 chord appropriately at the right time, and everything sounds great. If we miss that resolution, that same thing that you just played will sound totally wrong, and it just won't work. It'll just fall flat. So the key really is resolving your ideas at the right time. And I'm sure many of you have experienced this already. If you're in a jam situation or you're on a gig, and maybe you get lost somewhere in the changes, but then you hear the rhythm section come around to the start of the tune again. It's like, oh, okay, there's the end of that 8-bar phrase. Here I am again. Okay, now I know where I am. This is that same thing, but you're intentionally doing that, to negotiate a different way through these changes. You can play anything you want over those measures. I would most likely probably start out in C major, start out with a C major idea, and then go somewhere else. So I may be thinking in my head C major 7, and maybe this. So right there, I'm thinking 2 measures of C major 7. I'm thinking F sharp minor to B flat. To B. Then I'm thinking F minor, just down half steps to B flat 7. Then I'm thinking E minor to A7, and just half stepping into A minor 7 at bar 9. So that's just something I may hear in my head when I'm improvising. The band's going through the changes, and all of a sudden you go off in this left field area, but you're really playing a specific set of chord changes that you have in your head, and you're hearing ahead to bar 9 where the A minor 7 occurs. So this is how you can transcend the chord changes. I mean, you don't have to stick to the C major 7, the C minor 7, the G major 7, the B flat minor 7. You can play really whatever you want, but you have to play it with confidence, and you have to play it like you mean it. So it does make sense, and most importantly, as I said, resolve it at A minor 7 at bar 9. When you expose yourself to absolute silence, all the way over to absolute noise, or I guess my brother, who was an engineer, would say, well, actually the opposite of silence is one pure tone. But when you have silence on the other end of the spectrum, all this chaotic noise going on, somewhere in the middle there of that spectrum is music that we like, tones that we like, and it just gives you a broader perspective. So when I listen to material like that, and I go back and I listen to jazz standards, there's a clarity that comes to that is just like, wow. It's more understandable to me. It's more clear than it's ever been. So perspective, again, is something that's really important. Another thing.
Probably the easiest fingering would be to use your